So in this video, we're going to talk about how to parse data out of PDF files, and specifically, we're going to go through an example of extracting data from invoices and storing that data in a Google Sheet. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So I'm building this out in n8n. This is a very simple AI automation workflow that we're going to be building together in this video. So this automation is triggered off of a Google Drive file created trigger, in which every time a file is created within this folder right here, so we have a folder called projects, every time a file is created in this folder, this automation will download that file as a binary document and then move on to extracting the data from that file, and it'll pass that data into an information extractor, which will extract the data into multiple different attributes. So we have the invoice number, which is a string variable. You have the client name, client email, client address, client phone, total amount, invoice date, due date, etc. So this node is prompted to extract that data specifically for invoices. And this node uses Open Router, which is a service which allows you to choose from multiple different AI models using a single node. And then we're going to pass those variables into a Google Sheet. So we have a Google Sheet set up right here, and it has all of those variables that we just talked about on the Google Sheet. So we have invoice number, client name, client email, client phone, total amount, invoice date, and due date. Back to the n8n. Once that information has been added, the Google Sheet, the automation will pass that same information into this AI node right here, which will draft an email. So it uses the GPT-5 mini model, and the prompt, the user prompt, will simply be all of the different variables with the JSON output from our information extractor node. And then the system prompt will simply say that you are an email expert. You will receive invoice information. Your job is to notify the internal billing team that invoice was received/sent. This is the system prompt. And then once it goes through that node, it will send the email to us. So I'll have this template available in my Skool community so you can steal it. But right now we're going to go through and build this out together from scratch. So first off, we're just going to create a new workflow, and we're going to add our first step, which is a Google Drive trigger. We're going to click the on changes involving a specific folder. We're going to make sure that we're connected to the right account. We're going to choose watch for file created, and then we're going to select the folder that we want to access. So the folder that we had set up was projects. So we're going to click that folder, and this node should be set up and good to go. So now we have the Google Drive trigger set up. What we're actually going to do is we're going to execute this workflow, which will pull in that file that we have added into the folder. So we have this file called example invoice from ABC Tech Solutions, and it has all these different variables that we talked about previously. So this trigger should pull in that file. As you can see, the name of the file that it brought in was example invoice. So we do have that. And now what you can do is you can pin this data up here in the top right, or you can just click the node and click P. So you have the data pinned. Next up, we're going to download that file using a Google Drive download node. So we'll click download. This all looks good. We want to, instead of downloading the file from a list, we're going to download it from an ID, and we're going to pull that ID from this Google Drive trigger directly. And it's going to be this ID right here, which isn't nested within a folder. So we're going to drag that over. So it should just say json.id. So we're good there. We're going to execute this step, and boom. We now have a binary file of that invoice. We should be able to download that and actually see the file itself. So good, perfect. Moving on. Now we're going to use the extract from file node. So we're going to convert that binary data to a JSON that we can then pass on to the information extractor. So since we had a PDF file, we're going to do an extract from PDF node, and our input binary field is just going to be data, which aligns with this file right here. So we should be good to go here. We can just execute this step. There we go. We've converted that binary file to JSON format. And next up is the information extractor. So we can simply just drag in this text that we've extracted from the PDF right into this text right here. So now we have all the text within the PDF itself. And now we just need to create these different attributes that will be moved into the Google Sheet. So we're going to have a number of attributes that we talked about. And remember, we need to make sure that they align with these titles right here in our Google Sheet. So we have the invoice number, and we can give this a simple description number on the invoice. We can add another attribute. So client name, once again, We'll do client name and then name of the client. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to skip through and complete this all myself. So I just filled out all of these attributes. So again, we had the invoice number, the client name, client email, client address, client phone, the total amount on the invoice date, and then the due date. And at the very bottom, we have a system prompt, which right now I just have "you are an expert extraction algorithm. Only extract relevant information from the text. If you do not know the value of an attribute asked to extract, you may omit the attribute's value." We'll go ahead and save that. We do need a model. We can use OpenRouter's account and we can stick with GPT 4.1 mini. I think that's fine for this and we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and execute that step. And as you can see, it's taken that JSON.text and split it out into all of these different attributes, which now we can pass directly to a Google Sheet, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and add a Google Sheet node after this information extractor, and we'll simply use an append row in sheet node right here. And this is where things get a little tricky. So we'll have to choose the document that we're using for this. So this is the invoice database document. We're just going to choose sheet 1, and then we have to match each column individually. So it's actually not too hard. All we have to do is just drag in these JSON output directly into these values that we'll send to Google Sheets. This really shows you how to pull information directly out of a PDF and map it to a Google Sheet, which is very valuable to know. And I think that's good to go. So if we execute this step, it should populate all of that information into our Google Sheet. So our node executed successfully, and as you can see, it has added all of those values to this Google Sheet. So you have the invoice number, the client name, which is ABC Tech Solutions, the name of the company. You got the client email, client address, client phone, total amount, 22,000, invoice date, and due date, all added to the invoice database Google Sheet. So that's pretty solid. That's pretty good. But now if we wanted to take that information and inform ourselves through an email, all we'd have to do is add an AI node. So we can add AI node and OpenAI message a model node right here. We can call this draft email node, and we can choose the model that we want to use. So again, I'm just going to go with GPT-5 mini. Once I find it, there it is. And then we can pass all of this information to this model. So we'll have invoice number, drag that, client name, and I'm just going to finish up adding all of this information to this user prompt. So I just finished adding all of that information to this user prompt. So we're passing all of those values to OpenAI's GPT-5 mini model. And then we also want to add a system prompt as well, just instructing this model, giving it a role and telling it exactly what it needs to do. So if we click expression, go full screen, so then you're going to paste this system prompt right here saying you're an email expert, you will receive invoice information. Your job is to notify the user that an invoice was received/sent. And then the instructions: inform the user of the invoice, let them know we have also updated this in the invoice database and they can view it here. And that's the link to the invoice database spreadsheet. And then output the following parameters separately: subject and email. So it's important that we output this content as JSON because we'll be passing this onto the Gmail node. So let's go ahead and execute that step, which we'll call the GPT-5 mini to draft up that email. So it just drafted up that email saying, hello, this is to confirm we have received the invoice, yada, yada, yada. Now, all we need to do is pass that information onto a Gmail node that will send us that email. So we're going to click the send a message Gmail node. I'm just going to go ahead and put in my email right here in the to line. The subject, we can just pull the subject line right here, json.message.content.subject, and then the message will simply be the email value right here. So json.message.content.email. And then all we're going to do is switch the email type from HTML to text. We're going to add this option that turns off append n8n attribution, and you should be good to go. So go ahead and execute that step. So that step executed successfully and sent us that email. So I just received the email right here, invoice received. It's got the invoice number, the amount, the client name, and it also has all of the information within the invoice and a link to the invoice database that we can just click and it takes us directly to the invoice database right there, the Google Sheet. And yeah, so there you go. That's how you build out an AI automation that extracts information from a PDF. We went through an example for extracting data from invoices, but that's how you do it. And of course, if you want this template for this AI automation in particular, then make sure to check out my free community. All of my templates are on there, and it's completely free to grab them, steal them, take them, use them. And if you want to learn more about AI automation and building different types of AI agents to automate your business or just your personal life, then make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thanks.